And good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. With us, the head football coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach Jon Reutebuch, Michael Casey, and Bill Dixon here with you as well. Coach, Wawasee wraps up the season last night in the opening round of the IHSAA sectional number 19, but we played very well at Northwood last night.
We sure did. Very proud of the boys and how they performed. How they performed last night, and I couldn't ask any more. We talked about the last couple of weeks of playing with passion and playing with effort, and those are the things you can control. And I think as you look at the end of the season, you saw the first half of the Warsaw game, the Mishawaka game. We played pretty well in parts of that game, moved the ball all over the field. We caused some turnovers. We had some bright spots in that game. Again, wasn't able to put it together. And then, of course, the Goshen game where we put all three phases together. And I think that was kind of the place where it really clicked in.
Right.
But you could see signs of it coming. And then last night's game, we played as a team. And we played with passion and effort, and I think that was evident in how the game turned out.
Were it not for one special teams play, punt return for touchdown, were it not for that, that would have been a 6-0 ball game all the way down deep into the fourth. And that was something.
And I think that shocked a lot of people that we were able to do that. Offensively, again, we continue to struggle with that, and that's been a struggle all season since those early two games. We did some really positive things in the Goshen game and felt like, okay, we're on to something, and we got some things going. And last night, it was just it was one thing after another offensively, whether it was a penalty, somebody ran the wrong route. The armchair quarterback will sit back and go, where is Parker throwing that football? Well, what you don't know is the receiver ran the wrong route, or this lineman missed his block and he was getting hit as he throws. And there's so many things that go into offense, and like I said before in earlier programs, it's a choreographed dance, and you got to have all 11 guys on the same page. And defense is a little bit easier mentally because you can have a great defensive player, a guy make a great defensive player that makes you right. And last night that was Cam Salazar that made us right on a lot of plays. So, we talked about it. In that one play, we got a little too tight. Our linebackers and safeties were too tight to the line of scrimmage, and so once that crease was there was nobody left. And, give credit to Northwood. That was a good play for them. That's all they got. And, the punt return you mentioned, we'll look at film, but our last guy got tackled on their sideline, and I let the referees know that at halftime, and that was unfortunate. But, those plays happen in a game, and you got to overcome, and we talk about Warrior grit all the time, and I'll tell you what, that halftime talk and the look in their eyes, there was no quitting anybody. They were ready to come out and get after it in the second half, and they did. And, deep in the fourth quarter, it's 13-0 still, and we were just waiting for that play, that one offensive play or defensive play that would put us on the scoreboard and just open that whole can of worms. I know if we could have got that one play, I know it would have been on, and that's what we were looking for, and we just couldn't quite get that. And that's happens in football games. Sometimes you just can't get that one play to put you over the top, and they punched it in at the end to make it 20-0, and give our guys credit again. No quit in them at all. We drove the ball right down the field and scored, and then we got the onside kick to make it interesting. Granted, there was only about 6.5 seconds left when we did that, but that just shows those kids' toughness and warrior grit, fighting till the end.
One of the things I took away from last night's game was you talked about effort. And as a coach, at the beginning of the year, we talked about the success we had in the first two games and kind of went into the teeth of that NLC. The thing that Bill and I kept talking about on the radio was how complete of a game. Now, it didn't always look pretty offensively, or maybe some plays didn't look pretty defensively, but the complete game in all phases in the sense of the effort, the resiliency. We talked about, and we've talked about it a lot on the radio, it is so difficult in open field in high school to make tackles. And you're right, Cam Salazar, it was almost like he used a different technique. He didn't try to go up high. He would just kind of use, and it was a little slick. Obviously, the droves of
the monsoon.
Well, I mean, it's more of a mist and some stuff.
That had a lot to do with how ugly the game was.
It did, but as he would come through, it was almost like he was using that shoulder pad so effectively to kind of just take the feet right out from the players. And each time he did it, it looked so smooth. And that, to me, was the eye-opener to say, man, he played so well defensively and also offensively in some of the catches he had as well. And that was the thing where, even talking in the game, we talk about the complete game. We talked in the onset of the broadcast, hey, putting the ball up in the air is going to be something that we've had success with. Our say it nicely, we've struggled running. But with the weather, we thought, all right, well, we can see what we can do with putting the ball in the air. Then we find success throughout the game by running the football.
Yeah.
You got Larson hitting the ball or hitting the holes hard. Blair hit the holes hard. Parker was running well. And that's what kind of set up the pass. It was kind of that idea even from week 1 to week 2. We ran all over in certain games. And then, so it was so unique to see that. But encapsulating all of what I'm saying there, it was the complete game that I felt. It was great to see the seniors, the effort. And as you said, they punched it in late, which there was a minute left. You take a knee. You can go and debate that sportsmanship, however you want to look at it. But the key is your guys said, you know what? You want to do that to us? We're going to go ahead and drive down, and we're going to put one in. And sure enough, it kind of brought a smile to say, you know what? They didn't quit, and they got on the scoreboard. And that was the thing. The defense played so well. One play defensively, and then that punt return. And we mentioned it multiple times. It was so ugly with both penalties. I mean, at one point in time, Bill said they threw a flag just to throw a flag. I mean, wave it off. Who knows what? I mean, it was ugly, but they looked less prepared in the sense of, yeah, they won the football game, so be it. But they looked less prepared in blocking and tackling than we did. We looked more complete. I mean, there were multiple times they tackled some of our guys, bear hugged them, and they would easily call blocking the back on Adam Beer one point where he was going to score, the Northwood's offensive guy. And so, love the complete game, to say all that, and just really was impressed by how our kids played last night.
Yeah, there's a few things in there that you talked about. The first one you talked about, Cam Salazar and tackling low. You probably couldn't hear it upstairs, but that was something that we've been emphasizing for weeks, that we can't tackle people up by the shoulders. And when we've had our struggles defensively, it's because we're tackling high and guys are breaking tackles. Plymouth comes to mind. How many times we had him stuffed in the hole and he breaks out of it and takes off and runs down the sideline. So that is something we've been pushing and in tackling drills this week about going low. And, again, a kid that's very coachable goes out there and he looks like a bullet from that safety position and just chopping guys down and whacking them at the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what we're looking for, and made a huge difference. So the tackling technique is not something that just happens. No. Mike, you coach football, and tackling for us has been a struggle over the years, and when we have good teams, we tackle well, and that's kind of one of the mainstays of football is you got to be able to tackle. You got to block and tackle, and Vince Lombardi could probably give you some great quotes on that. The game was ugly in many aspects, but I think you had two teams that were playing hard and knew that this is win or go home, and I think both defenses played really well. Their defense was stout, as it has been, and our defense was stout, and that creates a lot of ugly situations. The weather, we never talk about the weather or anything. We talk about Warrior grit. It doesn't matter what the officials are doing. It doesn't matter what the weather's like. It doesn't matter who's injured. It doesn't matter. We go out and play. And the one thing we've emphasized all year long is, there's two things you can control. It's your effort and your attitude. In this world of COVID and all these things going on, hey, there's a lot of things out of our hands, but the things that we can control is our effort and our attitude. And we've been stressing that all season. I think it just kind of finally clicked in there at the end of the season. And, you saw that out on the field, the effort, the attitude, playing with passion. Even if we made a bad play, we did it going full speed. And so that was great to see. You mentioned the penalties. There were a lot of flags on the field, and I'm here to tell you there could have been a whole lot more flags on the field. And it was good to see those flags finally flying on a lot of those plays, because I've watched a lot of film on Northwood, and I've seen a lot of those plays at the point of attack where they've gotten away with it. And last night,
They did not.
They did not on a lot of them.
On the other side of the ball, Michael, you mentioned the balance between the rushing and the passing game. Well, obviously, had some success on the ground last night. Had to because of that weather.
Yes, and that in hindsight, that's something you always look back at a game and what could we have done differently? How could we have done this or that? And probably going to the running game earlier was something that we probably should have done, but that's not where our success had been all season long. So as Michael mentioned, that that was kind of a flip of the script, that we were having a lot of success running the ball and not as much throwing the ball. And conditions do have a little bit to do with that. But, again, it was good to see that the running game started to come together. And, that's something that we got to continue to work on and get better with. But
I would even say to that, the running game set that passing game up, because I think it gained the confidence. And it wasn't like we were going and rolling out and throwing the ball 45 yards out of bounds. They were playing good defense, like you said. We were playing good defense. But some of those passes, some of those short passes, even, and you mentioned it, we'll kind of, there's so much to talk about because there were so many bright spots for the program future. But that second half, I remember turning to Bill at one point and saying, man, I tell you what, they must have had a really good halftime conversation, just kind of finding that where you're at, realizing that this could be the last half of your career.
Yep.
And we got the ball. We started moving the ball down the field. And it just felt different. And again, it wasn't like they weren't playing hard in the first half, but in the second half, you could just see a difference. And in that first defensive segment, I think there was 3 straight plays that I saw probably the hardest hits we've seen all night. Larson blew him up. Blair was right there. Landeros. I mean, we just pads popping. And they weren't just kind of falling over. I mean, they were driving them back. The defensive line, even the first series.
Yeah.
We went 3 and out our first 3 series and then started kind of getting some first downs. But defensively, we shut them down first series on a turnover on downs. And then the second series, they kind of started getting a little bit, and then they had that long run. But, I mean, there was some pad popping on our end that I was so impressed by, and that's what you want to see, again, from Coach Zapes as defense coordinator, Coach Joe as the offensive coordinator, you as the head coach. You see that progression. And, again, it was ugly, but the complete game from how I viewed it and how I saw it, it was so nice to see, because you want to see that at the end of the year. And we saw that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see the end result with the win, but...
And let's give credit to Northwood. They're a good program. They're well coached. The kids buy into what they're doing. They play hard. I mean, that's probably the thing you hear from coaches all over is how hard they play. And, you look at their athletes and you look at their kids and, I think our kids found out, you know what, there's not a whole lot of difference between their athletes and our athletes. If we just go out and play hard, we're in this thing. And you saw that last night. I think back to a play on our sideline where Newcomer's out there, and he's a pretty darn good runner and a hard runner, and Adam Beer dropped him with a great tackle. And here's a kid that played football just this year. And so tells you how far we've come. And, the kids were talking about, Don Blair's hit on Newcomer where the helmet went flying off and things like that. And you're right. And probably the guys that don't get as much stats and credit is our defensive line played very well last night.
Huge play last night, particularly Wiggs and Castro.
And Landeros.
Yeah, and Landeros was unbelievable.
I think the first 3 or 4 plays, Castro was in the backfield. Landeros met the match. I mean, it was a stifling. They didn't get much in those first few drives. I mean, again, you go back to the big long play, but really you take away 2 big plays, the long run, and then that special teams touchdown, kind of riding that right return to the sideline. Defense played really, really good until the last push in of the end zone for Northwood. But
you talked about the way we came out since halftime, because what has been the pattern during the season is we haven't quite completed a whole game. We might have played somebody tough in the first half, and second half we kind of lost that. We did not lose that last night, and last night showed a complete game. And like I said, we can play with anybody. If we just go out and play with passion and effort. Northwood, their last game, they beat Warsaw. Warsaw's, conference champ, or at least at the very least, the co-conference champ.
Correct.
So that's the best team in the NLC, and that team beat them, and we went toe-to-toe with them. There is, I firmly believe this, and I've always have, that if we can get our mindset correct, and we're going to work on that a lot in the offseason, that we can compete with anybody. We got dudes just like anybody else, and if we go out there and play hard and have great effort and great attitude, you're going to see big things out of Wawasee football.
Last night was the final night of Wawasee football for the senior class. We'll bring 3 of those seniors back and talk to them here in just a minute on Coach Jon Reutebuch's Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach Reutebuch's Coach's Corner here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. The head football coach of the Wawasee Warriors with us always on his Coach's Corner. And, Coach, you brought some special guests with you today.
I sure did. I brought some seniors here today. Cam Salazar's a captain for us, 4-year player, and I brought Parker Young, also a captain for us, a 4-year player, and I brought Jacob Meek, who's been an honorary captain this year and a great senior leader and a 4-year player.
And who do you want to start with interview-wise, Coach?
We're going to have Cam come up here, and we'll talk to Cam first. And Cam, first thing I want to throw out to you is, we throw out the slogan Warrior Grit. It's, on some bracelets and some different things. Can you tell our fans and parents and people what exactly is Warrior Grit to you?
To me, Warrior Grit means that you are working hard and holding people accountable, showing your hard work, and having underclassmen just follow you, being a good leader.
That's great. Your senior slogan or motto was leave a legacy. And first of all, talk about, as seniors, what you were looking at for leaving a legacy, and then maybe talk about what legacy you think you guys have left.
We wanted to show underclassmen, people are going to be the face of the program here in a couple years, that everyone is important. We need underclassmen to play hard, play for each other, and play to 1 week or 1 year just winning sectional championship.
Very good. If you can think back, and I know it's fresh off of last night's game. If you can think back, maybe something that was a season highlight for you, what would you say it would be?
Probably just that last game, seeing everybody really come together. Defense played really well, played as a team, and it was fun to just see that happen.
Yeah. So last night's game, let's talk about it a little bit. You had a great game. I think you had about 10 tackles. I think it was 9.5 tackles, which is a lot of tackles from the safety position. And then I think you had about 10 catches on the game as well. So you were active in many parts of the game. You want to talk a little bit about last night's game and how it went for you?
Offensively, I felt like it went pretty well. Had a couple chances to make some more plays, but didn't happen. But as a team, we try to just, when things didn't go right, just keep going through, keep working hard. It goes back to Warrior Grit, what Coach Reutebuch has preached all year, and just trying to fight through. And then defensively, like I said, just everyone coming together was nice. Seeing guys working hard, really, really caring about that game.
Was there one highlight of the game that will go in the memory bank of you look back at your football career and you think about certain spots in games? I know I think back, I still remember plays and talk to certain guys about this happened and that happened. Is there a play last night that really sticks out to you that is one that's going to go in that memory bank?
Probably 2 plays. We were down at the 15, 20. And we created a fumble there. I created it, had Meek and Fine going after it. And then our last touchdown to end the game was a pass from Parker to me. And it just kind of ended the story. Like Parker's dad told us, it's how we started. Touchdown pass from Parker to me, and that's how we ended it.
Yeah, that's great. That was great to see, and that was an audible, of course, right? We had another play called, and Parker recognized the way the defense was lined up and took full advantage of that, and that was great. There's a lot of people that go into your football career, and I want to give you the opportunity to give some people a shout-out that have meant a lot to you in your football career, and it could be, early on in Pee Wee, it could be position coach, whatever, whoever you want to give a shout-out to.
My dad and my uncle for always pushing me, and not just football, but in all sports, and helping me become the best player I can be, and my family for making sure I'm doing the right thing, staying on track, being a good kid and all that. And then this year, I really connected with Coach McKee. He really made sure I was working hard, doing extra things, trying to be the best player, be a great leader, and help this team.
That's great. That's great. Cam, you had a great career here at Wawasee, and you finished it with a great game last night, and we appreciate your leadership and all you brought to the program. And I would say your legacy is definitely one of coming out and working hard every day and doing what needs to be done to be the best player you can be. And I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you, Coach.
We're going to bring up Jacob Meek next. Jacob, if I probably didn't say it, but Cam, like I said, he's like a Swiss Army knife. He plays a lot of different positions for us, but he's a safety. He's a slot receiver. There's times where he lined up in the backfield as a running back, and also played on several special teams. He was our kick and punt returner, and even jumped in on gunner on punt. He does a lot of things for us. And Jacob Meek, this is your senior year, and you hadn't got a lot of senior or a lot of varsity experience up to this year, and you surely made the most of it. You had a great year. Jacob also plays slot receiver for us, and also plays the bandit safety position for us, and is on several special teams, and does a lot of things for us. So let's talk about Warrior Grit first. What is Warrior Grit to you?
Warrior Grit is, I think, leaving it all on the line for your brothers and just playing to the best of your ability and making sure that your teammates are always up, not head looking at the ground and being sad about themselves, and just making sure you're all playing 100%. Good.
Leave a legacy. You seniors came up with that motto, and what did you feel like, you wanted to leave as a legacy, and did you accomplish that? What legacy did you leave?
I think we did accomplish it. I think we set a new stone for the underclassmen to keep building on what we started to do this year, and that always play to the best of your ability and don't give up no matter how the season's going, and I think we did that. Yeah.
Somebody that was able to watch each and every game. You saw glimpses of that in the first half of the Warsaw game, and then the Mishawaka game. We just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, but there was a lot of flashes of good things there. And then Goshen, we put it all together. And last night, definitely everybody's playing hard and with passion, and that's really the difference. Season highlight, somewhere along the season, something that, is going to go in that old memory bank of, oh yeah, you remember that time when, and that kind of thing. What is that for you, or maybe it's a couple moments?
It was actually the first varsity game. We got 2 touchdowns from Parker Young.
That was a good feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Last night's game, what are some plays that stuck out to you? Maybe you look back at last night's game, and sometimes it's a highlight, or it's something that happened that was pivotal, whatever. What sticks out to you about last night's game for you personally?
The final throw from Parker to myself, that's where it really sunk in. That's probably my last catch of the season.
Wow. A lot of people go into your athletic careers and support you, and as far as football goes, you want to give a shout out to, parents, family members. Maybe it was a Pee Wee middle school coach, maybe it's a position coach this year, whoever. You want to give some shout outs to some people?
Yeah, my mom and my dad, they've been there through me the entire time. My dad actually helps me a lot too. And Joe Salazar, Jamie Salazar, they've been there ever since I started playing football. And they still help me to this day, and it really helps.
Good. Yeah, I'm old enough. I remember when your dad and Cam's dad played football for Wawasee, so I'm that old. So kind of shocking, isn't it? I don't look that old, do I? All right, we are going to go ahead and bring our last senior we have today, Parker Young. Parker Young is quarterback. He's played some safety for us. He has been our quarterback the last 2 years and been a great leader this year. Parker, just like the other guys, we're going to go down the list of things. The first one is Warrior Grit. What is Warrior Grit to you?
Warrior Grit to me is just playing hard every game, showing up to practice, doing anything it takes to win.
And you've done a great job of that. You put in the work every day, and you're on point of being a leader every day and leading by example. That leave a legacy motto, you guys came up with that. Talk about that a little bit, about what you wanted to leave as a legacy, and if you were able to do that, what kind of legacy you have.
Leaving a legacy, we wanted to motivate the underclassmen to become better football players and better leaders, and I think we did that. I think this program has a good chance of being turned around after our class.
Very good, and I agree with you. Season highlight, something that stuck out to you from this season that you're going to bring up again, and you're sitting around with Cam and Jacob 4 years down the road. It's a Friday night, and you guys are talking about that. Hey, remember that one game that this happened? What's that for you?
It's probably our season opener against Lakeland when I threw 4 touchdowns.
Coming out of the block, hard, and had a really good game that night, and throwing the ball over the yard and having fun with it. Good. Last night's game, some plays that might have stuck out to you that like I said before, might be pivotal plays, or a play that you remember. Again, it'll be something you remember and look back on.
There's 2 plays from last night. One was both of them were passes to Cam. One was the last touchdown, and the other one was the pass over the middle to Cam for, I think it was like 25 yards that set us up to score.
Okay, very good. And then, of course, the shout-out. There's a lot of people go into your football career, and I'm sure there's some people you want to thank out there.
I'd like to thank my parents and my sister for always being there for me and always supporting me through everything. I'd like to thank Coach O for always pushing me to be the best player and leader on and off the field. And I'd like to thank the whole coaching staff for everything they've done.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Parker, and thank you for all 3 of you. I think these young men have definitely left a legacy of working hard and work ethic, and like I said, towards the end of the season, you could see it coming. Things are starting to come together, and the team playing hard together. And one of the things I talked about to the boys each week is when you play with passion and effort, you can beat anybody. And you saw that coming together at the end of the season. Goshen game, big NLC win for us, a good night for us. And then last night, we just made too many mistakes, but we had passion and effort, and we were in that ball game all the way. And I think a lot of people that saw the first time we played Northwood and last night's game noticed a big difference. And it doesn't just happen. It takes guys' leadership like these young men. And we have some other seniors that contributed this year. And one of our other captains, Justin Castro, couldn't be here today. But he was also a leader on our offensive line, and there are many leaders. Each week, we have 3 captains, and we're allowed to send 2 out because of COVID restrictions, and so these guys had to rotate, and I think I messed the rotation up a couple times. I think the same guys went out several games in a row. Not the big thing on my mind. And then we have honorary captains, and an honorary captain is a guy that played well the game before, or had a really good week of practice, or just leading very well. And I just want to shout out to those guys too that were our honorary captains: Nate Larson, Dom Blair, Jacob Meek, of course, and Adam Beer, Zach Smith, Caleb Fine, Dryden Hernandez, and Hagen Slusher. And last night's honorary captain of the year was Robert Schmucker. So thank you, seniors, for leaving a legacy, and I think you set the path for success in the future.
Thanks, John. Coach's Corner with Coach Jon Reutebuch will continue here in just a moment on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Head football coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach Jon Reutebuch. Coach Reutebuch, Wawasee played just incredibly tough last night at Northwood. So many different aspects of the game to talk about.
Yeah, there are. And, one of the things about last night's last night's game is what it does for the program. Mm-hmm. You go into that game and every season ends with a loss unless you win the state championship. And so what you take away from that last game and how you played is huge for your off season. And so, our hope and, want for that game for our kids and our program is to go out there and play like we did. The passion and effort that we played, we can build upon that. Kids, get confidence in, they play in the NLC. That's one of the best conferences there is in northern Indiana. And, making plays against good athletes and good programs gives you a confidence that, hey, yeah, we can play on this level and we can be good. And we do have some dudes that can do some things. And I think that really kind of came together at the end of the season, and it's something that we're hoping to build upon now.
You got a tremendous progression this year. You saw tremendous growth. We always talk about the growth between game 1 and game 2. I think Wawasee saw more growth between the games at the end of the season than we did at the beginning of the season. And I've never seen that before. That was unusual.
I think that's, again, we can't help talking about it, but it's something to do with COVID. How we didn't have as much time with the kids and developing them. And so, that has a little to do with it. The more time we were able to spend with them and develop them throughout the season. And the other part is, just the effort and the attitude part of that whole equation and getting the kids to, each week you got to talk about, okay, this didn't go well, but here's what we need to do and here's what we can do. And a big part of coaching is the mental aspect of your team and how they approach each game. And we have some good leaders on this team, and that's why I wanted to bring a couple of those seniors in that, they never blinked. They never wavered from the path of what we were on, that warrior grit. And, things – you just hope it clicks in at the right time, and you want to be playing your best football at the end of the season. And I think we were. I talked about that at the very beginning, at the very first game. I said, now we need to keep climbing that ladder, keep climbing those steps of getting better each week. And when you do that, it's not how you start, it's how you end. Mm-hmm. And we got a parent that made bracelets. Joe Schmidt got these little rubber bracelets for us, and give him a shout out. And on one side it says Warrior Grit, and on the other side is that quote that I gave the kids. The very first game, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that goes into each game, and that goes into the season. And last night you saw a complete game, and last night you also saw the culmination of a season where I think we were playing our best football by the end of the season.
Well, but in talking about that, we go back to multiple conversations on the Coach Jon Reutebuch radio show, as you are listening right now. And we talked about, man, it'd be great if we had a complete game. The guys played really well in the first half. They played really well in the second half. And last night was that. And again, did not get the win. However, the last segment we just had, talking with your three seniors, Cam Salazar, Jacob Meek, and Parker Young, leaving a legacy. I truly believe from what we saw, a lot of those young guys on the sideline, a lot of parents, a lot of coaches even saw, hey, with COVID, you didn't have as much. You see that at the college level, the NFL level. You see that at all levels how it's affecting the development of players, whether you're the best of the best or you're not. But what I'm getting at is I think people started to see, hey, that warrior grit, but that complete piece to it, that legacy leaving of our seniors is starting to show more than anything now. And that's where you want it to show. You want it to show at the end, finishing strong and not giving up. And they did that. And I think that'll be a great transition into your offseason and then for the future of the program.
Absolutely. Northwood presents a lot of problems when you're looking at them. Their offense is multi-dimensional, and getting a newcomer back after being out for several games with a knee injury and having him out there in his leadership. And he played pretty darn well for a guy that had some surgery a couple weeks ago, and he's back out on the field. And we kind of knew that going in. Our kids Parker Young plays baseball with him, and so they kind of talk and know, and it went from he's done, his career's over, and then maybe not, and things like that, and that's the thing you got to be careful of. You don't talk about individual guys and who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. You talk about the scheme and what we need to do, because they have shown that they plug anybody in at quarterback and they still can move the ball and play well. And you've seen everybody from Kyle Sellers playing quarterback to Lone playing quarterback to newcomer playing quarterback. They've had a lot of guys, even Feenstra in the end of the Warsaw game was in at quarterback. And so it's the scheme that you're looking at, and you mentioned Andy Zapst and the defensive coordinator, and Zach McKee is works real hard with him, and Brady Nyland defensive line, and they had a good game plan, and our kids played hard and played well to execute that game plan, and that kept us hanging around the whole game, and it was a great effort by the whole defense. You look at the defensive line, you look at the linebackers, you look at the DBs. We gave up one big play. That's all we gave up. And the rest of the game, we played all out, swarming to the football. You mentioned the big hits in the game and big plays, and open field one-on-one on that fifth week here at home. We didn't make those tackles.
No.
Last night, we made those tackles.
Well, and the important piece to all of this is what you talked about, the complete game. Not only that, but I think a lot of your seniors realize, like, going at halftime, you're down 13-0. You're kind of trying to get some things going on offense. And I think that second half, not only the conversation, the warrior grit, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think that's where you kind of saw that level raise. There's two ways you can go. You can raise your level, or you can just say, I'm done. And we raised our level. With the way in which we hit, with the way in which we moved the ball, played defense. Again, moving from that first half, but almost just up in the ante a little bit more. And that was so encouraging to see. And we've talked about that a little bit. And yeah, they've got good players, but so do we.
Yeah.
And once we started getting those good players involved in the game more than what we had,
right?
Like you said, Adam Beer made great tackles out there. I mean, he was out there playing offensive defense. You talk about a lot of your defensive
Don Blair,
line.
Robert Schmucker.
Yeah.
We talked about guys on the defensive line. Of course, Cam flying up. Jacob Meek probably played the best defensive game I've seen him ever play.
Really?
And so, I mean, it was from everybody that played on defense. They played hard. And we were able to move the ball, and we're going to have to look in the offseason at what we got to do in the red zone better, because that's kind of where we stubbed our toe a little bit too much and sustaining drives. But, it wasn't lack of effort. The offensive line, for the most part, I think played pretty well.
I thought they picked up blitzes really well last night.
They did.
Northwood is the defense where they like to do a lot of slanting on the front. They put 3 down linemen. They'll bring outside backers. They'll kind of loop backers inside, kind of that high-risk, high-reward type of defense. They put pressure on you to throw you aloof. The guys did a really good job. Mentioned it multiple times. Nice job picking up the blitz. The problem is that their DBs played so well at times that when Parker was trying to move around, he didn't have a lot of movement to run around, because they were it's a coverage sack is what they call it. That the defensive backs are playing so well that your D line eventually was going to get to the quarterback, and that's what they did a few times.
That's absolutely spot on.
Thank you.
We were, Brady Nyland did a great job with those linemen, and we picked up those blitzes, and that really wasn't an issue. And you're exactly right. Those same names that we're talking about on offense, that's their defensive secondary. You know,
Correct.
you got Newcomer and Lone and Sellers, and those guys are good. They're really good, and they fly to the football and they make plays and they make tackles. And Feenstra is another one in there. Those guys are good players. Thank goodness. 3 out of the 4 are gone.
Yeah.
And
You'll have to see them next year.
But you're right. I mean, a lot of those were coverage sacks, or you know, by the time somebody did come open, you know, there was pressure.
But you can't be upset if you're an offensive
No.
coach and the offensive line if they give you 4 to 5 seconds to throw.
Yeah.
The problem is sometimes that window is going to close down because the best of the best, it's hard to hold that block because, I mean, it's a one-on-one battle that you're trying to get to the quarterback. You're trying to get 2 ball, find ball, see ball, tackle ball.
Yeah,
How
and
about
I
that?
think our offensive line did a nice job. Our running backs ran hard, and you know, we saw that kind of evolve last night. If we could have had that all season, and that would have been great. You know, and it's a chemistry between the receivers and the quarterback and being on the same page. And, you know, sectional play, you like your team to raise their level, and that puts more pressure too. And so, you know, we just made too many mistakes to win the football game, but we sure did make it interesting, and we sure did play with passion and something that, you know, it is about winning the football game, but it's also about how you played the game. And there's a lot we can take away from that.
So, no, go. We were going to talk a little bit about, you know, you had mentioned there's 2 things you can control. It's your attitude, it's your effort. And I know John Gordon, you know, kind of a big promoter of him in the sense of Positive View and the positive podcast he has. And what I'm trying to say is he talks about your core, what you can control, your attitude, your mindset, who you are. And there's things outside of your control that a lot of people let filtrate into their core. And I love what you said. Hey, guys, at the half, all you can control is your attitude and your effort. You said that all season long, and I saw that last night. So let's transition into what you can control as a head coach and your assistant coaches is your attitude and your effort. What does the offseason look like? Continuing to bring that mindset. It's not how you started, but it's how you finished. And moving that, leaving the legacy of the seniors class of 2021 down to your next year's seniors and then your underclassmen and with your coaches. So how does that look like?
So, yeah, we're going to miss those seniors because they were a solid group. And, you know, I was able to have them for 2 years. And now our juniors are going to be the next level. And we've had them for 3 years. And they're going to have to step up their leadership. And I think our seniors showed them what that is about. And we're going to work really hard in the off season with some leadership meetings and talking about what good leadership and how you can lead. You know, it doesn't always take the rah-rah guy. Sometimes it's a guy that's quiet, but he leads by example, and he goes out there and shows you this is how it's done. And so, you know, that's something that we're going to work on. You know, coaches, our coaching staff works hard, and, you know, we're going to be going to clinics. We're going to be looking at our film from this year. We're going to be evaluating, you know, our offense and defensive calls, and we're going to be working with kids, you know, to get them to be better athletes. You know, coaches have got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do. And so, you know, the offseason presents you with an opportunity to build for that next season. And that's the thing that's probably one of the most difficult things is to get a high school kid that's 15, 16, 17 years old to look at down the road, this is what we're working on, because you build success for the next season in the off season. And so one of the huge components for our players is our strength program, our strength and conditioning
You've
programs.
seen that develop immensely
Yeah,
over the last few
we got
years.
most of our guys all 3 trimesters in strength and conditioning, and again, that was stunning. You know, Coach Nyland got here in Parkview. That whole thing all came in at the same time last year. And, you know, you had the summer to kind of build that program up and show this is what we do and how we do it. You had the first trimester introducing it to kids in school. And then that second trimester, you know, you're starting to turn the corner. Then, boom, COVID hits and we're out of it, you know. And we don't see the kids again until July. So everything that you build up to that point in this new culture that we're trying to build and this new program we're trying to build, and a big component of that is strength and conditioning, that's taken away from you. And I realize it's taken away from all programs across the state and in college and NFL, but for a program that's trying to turn things around and change the culture, that hits us extra hard. And so, you know, I think people got really excited at the beginning of the year that we were able to play hard and play well and put some points on the board and put some goose eggs on the board. But those in the know knew that those plays that we were making in those first two games, that's probably not going to happen in the NLC because every team is well coached. It is a great conference. There's great athletes, and you got to play well in all three phases of the game. And if you don't, you're going to get beat. And if you don't bring your A game, you're going to get embarrassed. So we knew going in that there's going to be some games and difficult times, but again, going back to that, your effort and your attitude and keeping that online and the way we finish the season is something we can build on. Players' strength and conditioning and players evaluating where they were this year and improving on that. You don't want to stagnate. You don't want to stay the same. And we're going to have to make them uncomfortable a little bit, and that's uncomfortable with their conditioning, uncomfortable with their, get stronger, and then become better students of the game. Film study, evaluating how you go at your technique and your fundamentals. And those are always things that we stress all season long. And so a lot of work to be done, but, we saw glimpses of what it will look like if we all work hard and have passion and effort for what we want to do.
We're going to continue to talk about the strength of the Wawasee program and the development of the program here during the offseason in just a moment here on Coach Jon Reutebuch's Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Michael Casey and Bill Dixon with you here as we talk to the head football coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach Jon Reutebuch. Michael?
Coach, last segment you talked about the offseason, a few key bullet points. You talked about the leadership aspect of your underclassmen as they transition to the new role, whether they're freshmen going to sophomore to junior to becoming your next senior class. You talked about the clinics that you as coaches are going to be attending to kind of soak up as a sponge all the information. How can we better our offense? How can we better our defense? As you want to do it, whether it's an educator, a coach, or whatever it may be, you always want to better yourself. Another thing you talked about were evaluations, not only the coaches, but also player evaluations. Hey, where was I at this past year? Where can I get better? What are some areas that I can continue to be strengthened in? And where are those areas of improvement that I need to look at? And you talked about the strength and conditioning. Hopefully that will be something where we can continue to build on for consistency purposes. As you mentioned last year, it was kind of cut a little bit short. And I know Brady Nyland's doing a nice job, and you're very high on that, and him on, and as well as the team with that. So have we talked about the offseason more for specifically your high school team? Let's now turn the attention to the state of the program. It's all yours.
Okay. Well, yeah, the strength and conditioning program is a key component, and what we do there is going to show out on the field. Every program I've been a part of that has turned around here at Wawasee, that work has been done in the weight room, and it's transitioned to the field. And so I know how important that is, and that was, one of my goals taking the job is to get us better athletes, get us stronger, and with that comes confidence. And Brady's doing a great job, and even though I've been around for a long time, this is only year two, and it takes some time to get things going. I use the common theme of Rome wasn't built in a day, and with the program and changing the culture, it takes some time to get all that built in, and that's behind the scenes that people don't see. All they see is Friday night and what goes on there, and it's easy to look and say, why are you doing that, and why are you doing that, and there's a whole lot more that goes into it. And so we are progressing. We want one more game than we did last year, and we want to keep winning more games, and we performed well in the sectional game, even though we didn't win. And don't get me wrong, we're not here for moral victories. We're here to win football games, and but it had the kind of outcome that we can build upon that. So next year we can win that game.
And everybody has their own opinion on that when they talk about victories, whether it's the win or the win column, but the moral victories. And there is something to be said about learning and growing. And you mentioned earlier about being uncomfortable. In order to grow, you've got to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
You're either going to break. It's either going to break you or it's going to make you. And so I think that there are so many things you can pull from that, whether you call that a moral victory or you call that something to build upon. And that to me is very important. Being uncomfortable will make you or break you, and really looking forward to seeing. And I know we just finished the season last night.
Right.
What the future holds for the program, as you said, you've built on the victory column, you've built in the weight room. What is it going to look like as these seniors leaving a legacy? What's
Right.
the future hold? And I'm so excited to see that, and I'm sure that you are as well.
Yeah, and like I said, that's such a big component, and that's why I keep talking about it. It's so very huge, and we're going to have kids going on to other sports, basketball and wrestling and swimming, and then in the spring, we got baseball players and track guys, and we'll continue to follow them and their career and rooting them on. And I know I'll be going to games and watching those guys progress. And you'd like to see them continue to grow as athletes and in other sports, and bringing up Wawasee's sports athletics program. And that the strength and conditioning component is huge, not only for us, but it's also important for all athletics. And so, better athletes put on the field, the better opportunities we have for wins. So,
How does the strength and conditioning and the off-season in general look different for that student who is a multi-sport athlete versus the student who is a football-only athlete?
It's your program that you're working on, and each sport has their coaches have worked with Coach Nyland on, when you're in season for basketball, these are the kind of lifts you need. This is the kind of workouts you need. This is the kind of conditioning you need, and it's the same for all sports. And so it's not a football coach running a football strength and conditioning program. It's
I see.
He is a football coach, but he is a strength and conditioning guy first. And,
Okay.
and so,
He is tuning the program, the strength and conditioning program, for each individual athlete. I
Yes.
see.
And Parkview is a big part of that. And there are different workouts for each sport and each athlete. And you have everything from the beginning athlete, like a freshman, to the senior athlete that, just needs to go to that next level. And you got guys and girls in there in strength program, and there are some kids in there that are not in athletics, just trying to get in better shape and things like that. But we're really working hard, not as just as football coaches, but as a athletic program, and getting all our kids to buy into strength training and have them understand this is not just a football coach that has strength training for just football players. This is a Wawasee athletics strength training program that's going to be good and beneficial for all programs.
But I think that is also something that, as you mentioned, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, convincing them. I don't want to say convincing them, but commitment to the idea of you see the gains in the weight room. And whether you're a baseball player, whether you're a track and field, whether you're a wrestler or basketball player, I need to leap higher. I need to work on my ups, one might say, or I need to work on my development as an offensive lineman. So I don't want to say catering to, but more developing an individualized plan for not only that player, but that team, so that they can enhance their athletic ability specifically for their sport. That's the cool part about it, and I think that's the science and evidence that has been seen over the last decade, even more so, of instead of just going in and doing bench press all the time because I just want to put a bunch of weight on. All right, not only bench press, but you can do your DB flies. You can also do some other stuff, and I'm just throwing out weight terms. But the idea behind it is, as I mentioned, it's cool to see because I know that you have worked with Coach Brady Nyland as a football coach, but he is the all-encompassing for the Wawasee School Strength and Conditioning Program. And so it's really, really awesome because going back to the commitment, I'm saying, sorry to bring that back, but the commitment for the kids, once they start seeing that, hey, my biceps or, hey, my calf muscles, hey, I kind of feel a little bit different. It's like getting a new haircut. It's like getting a new pair of clothes or a new shoes. Once you start feeling, and you're looking good, you're going to start feeling good. And so the effort and commitment that needs to be put in by the players, it's not just the coaches or Brady Nyland doing this. It's the kids committing to it. And once they commit to it, any craft, whether it's a CTE program here at the high school or anything outside of it, once they commit, you start seeing results, they're going to start committing even more so.
And it comes down to trust. The kids trusting in the program and trusting in what we're doing is going to come out on a positive end for them. It's going to work for them, and you're going to see results. And I know they keep track of victories in all sports, and they go over that and Mr. Mishler, who's also part of that strength and conditioning program, points out each week, the victories, what successes we've had in volleyball or soccer or football. And, they do a hip, hip, hooray. And it's kind of cool to see that old, hip, hip, hooray thing. But it's showing them that, hey, things are happening. We have way more victories, hip, hip, hoorays in strength and conditioning than we did last year. And so building that trust that this is going to benefit you and your sport, that's a big part of it. And so,
but if you're a true competitor too, and you're a high school athlete, and you start seeing other people make gains as a competitor, you want to compete.
Absolutely.
And you want to continue to grow. I mean, obviously, it's not you're against them, you're with them, but also you compete. You want competitors in all sports and compete in everything, whether it's academics, whether it's sports, and I like that they have that celebration because you should celebrate.
Yeah, and you're competing against yourself too. You're going for those gains and you're going for those things, and strength and conditioning has changed quite a bit from what we knew just a few years ago. And so, you don't have that max day where you put that massive amount of, the most weight you can put on there and see if you can do it. It's more about percentages and be able to figure that max by you're lifting this much weight at this many times. It's a lot safer. It doesn't take as much time. And it's more of an indicator of where you are. And again, just giving kids time to develop in the weight room and becoming better athletes. And going away from football, an Adam Beer who's a basketball player. You hope Adam Beer's experiences in football has built confidence and things in him that makes him a better basketball player.
Surely it's built toughness, and we saw that last night when he made a couple of really nice plays on the defensive end, being his first year playing.
Yes.
He developed immensely throughout the year, and I do believe it will transition to that. He might be a little bit more physical in basketball, in the court.
And that physical trait, Colin Roberson is another one. He's probably going to be a big part of the basketball team this year. He's a 6'4", 220 kid that he stands out, literally stands out above the crowd, and playing football hopefully has given him the confidence and physicality that when he's working in the trenches in basketball and working in the box and posting up and playing post defense, that he's a better athlete. And that's what we want. We here at Wawasee, we need our athletes in all sports. And it's, we're not big enough to say this is just a basketball player and this is just a football player. We want our athletes to play all sports and contribute, and they can learn valuable lessons from, the wrestling program, the swimming program, the basketball program. Those coaches can continue to work on that overall kid and their athletic ability and the lessons that sports teach you. So that's a big component. In the off season and in the state of our program, our juniors have some ability, a lot of ability there. There's a lot of juniors that are coming back that were a big part of our football team this year. But again, we can't stagnate. We got to rise to the next level. And we talk about the Dom Blairs, the Mark Wiggs, the Nate Larsons, and so on and so forth. Those are some key components we're going to build around. But they also have to step up their game in leadership and how they go about things and bring it to the next level. And part of that lies on me. That's my job to show them the path, and part of it lies on them. How much do you want to put into your senior year? How much success are you looking for? There were some of them already talking about it last night about the W Trophy and the things that they wanted to accomplish, and so that's good to see. They're looking ahead, but it's a long time between now and then, and they got to put in the time and the work, and hopefully they buy in and have that trust.
It's easy to say, hey, I want this, hey, I want that, but you talked about leadership earlier. Either you're going to be the kind of the rah-rah guy, or you're going to model the actions, what you do. You don't have to be the rah. It's not like the old school where everybody's got to scream and yell. You could have the simple leader that does his task. He does it diligently. He does it humbly, and he gets it done. But the other guy is the rah-rah, and you turn to that guy when you need the rah-rah, but then you turn to the other guy when we need a little bit more of a calm, cool, and collect mindset. And so that is what leadership is. It's all-encompassing. It's not just like you said, go out there and, like my former high school coach, we got him a watch for a senior president. He's like, it's time, and he broke the watch, and we're like, all right, it is time, and we got that senior gift. Anyway, but that got us going, and that was what it was back in the day.
And a good team is led by their coach, and a great team is led by its players. And when you have a senior class with great leadership, that goes a long way in your program. And so, we got some juniors that their ability is there. They got to hone that ability. They got to work harder, and they got to be more about the whole team, not just their own little thing. And so that's a challenge to our juniors that are going to be seniors next year. Our sophomore class, good freshman group, and this year a lot of those. We played last night with 2 sophomores in the offensive line at center, no doubt. Our
and
starting
right tackle, was it?
And left tackle.
Left tackle.
And so that was the last 2 games. And so, those guys will be coming back and got some valuable experience. And we got 3 other guys that have next year will be their 3rd year in the offensive line. And so we expect to make even more gains there. So good sophomore class coming up. Some of them played JV. Some of them had to play some varsity along the year. And so that's a good group. That is the group when they're seniors. We feel like we're really going to see.
We'll see the proof in the pudding.
The proof in the pudding at that point. Yes, and our freshman group, great season this year, 5-1, and played and participated in a lot of games, and some of those games are super tight. Their last complete freshman game was against Warsaw here at home. And, they won that game. That was a great thrill and a great way to end their freshman season. Because of certain teams going through COVID and that kind of stuff, and some teams not fielding a freshman team, they had 3 opportunities to play with the JV guys together.
That's awesome.
And so starting to build that cohesion there between the sophomores and the freshmen.
And the only loss that they had was against Elkhart High, the combined school of Memorial and Central.
And that was a
tight game.
It was a very tight game. And
so that's good to see, because that's a big program, big school. And to see our guys compete, and you want to see that.
You're taking 2 5A programs and throwing them together, and they had platoons of guys together.
So big things coming for Wawasee High School football in the offseason and the year to come. Coach Reutebuch, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. This is Coach's Corner with Coach Jon Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com on WRWTLP Syracuse.